So let's move on to the next part of our broadcast. I want you to hear firsthand from an agent who, like you, made the decision to build their business with Remax. And my guest today comes from a real estate family background, and she chose Remax as a new agent in 2016. She built a successful business and then she went on to build a team. So I'd like to welcome Mary Catherine. Mary Catherine, it's
Thank you so
nice to
much.
see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Oh gosh, it's our pleasure. So we'll start pretty easily. What's your connection to real estate? I kind of gave a little reference to it, but what's your connection?
Yeah, so I grew up around the real estate industry. My dad started a Remax franchise in Chattanooga in 1999. So I was 7 years old. So I grew up around the business, grew up around the office, was at the office after school every day. So never thought I would actually go into the business. And after college, I decided not to take a job with a sales company and jumped right into real estate.
Awesome. I have a similar background. I love that. So we may have some new agents who are on the call today. We might have some veteran agents. It's always great to hear people's story. How did you get started? It's like, okay, you're licensed. It's day one. You have no transactions. How do you
Yeah.
bridge that gap? What did you do to get started?
Absolutely. So, right after college, I decided to take a job with a marketing company for about 9 months just to save money because I knew I wanted to get into real estate and be full time. So,
Mhm.
um,
Smart.
you know, being with my dad, that obviously he taught me a lot about the business and how to get started. The number one thing I did though and jumped right in was learning scripts and getting on the phone and making phone calls. I was very
Mhm.
heavy on the prospecting from the very beginning. My first 9 months in the business, I did 17 transactions in 2016.
Wow.
So just jumped right in.
It's
And I would
fantastic.
say prospecting heavy was like the number one thing that I did that led to my success.
It's a big deal. And I think that if I would say anything to newer agents, it may be the thing they underestimate the most as to what it takes to be successful out there. And
Right.
so, tell us a little bit more about prospecting. What did that look like more specifically, and what kind of different types did you engage in?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was reaching out to people I knew already and working through my
Mhm.
sphere. I did a lot of online leads and got really familiar with scripts and practiced those. My dad was always involved in coaching in the
Mhm.
Mike Ferry organization, Tom Ferry organization. So I got into coaching pretty early on into my career in 2018. So that really helped to, have all that knowledge and that training there and then jump in with prospecting and building my business off that.
That's so great. And what did you find that Remax gave you, initially where you said, gosh, this has helped me really grow pretty
Yeah.
rapidly?
Yeah, I would say the Remax brand is the biggest
Mm,
reason, for my growth. I mean, everyone is aware of the Remax brand, and there's
mhm.
a huge network of agents. There's not a ton of newer agents in Remax. It's a lot of seasoned agents. So I feel like that being able to grow from those agents within the network and learn from them was super important.
Sure, it gave you a leg up. I have a similar story.
Absolutely.
I came to Remax, a long time ago, 20 plus years ago. And same thing. I just really wanted to be with the professionals to really teach
Yeah.
me, how can I really elevate in this business and scale up quickly? So you bring up a great point. And so as you started to build, you went into building a team. So talk to
Yeah.
us about a little bit about what went into your decision-making process. What was your threshold for why you made those decisions? Usually it's a lack of time, right? So tell us more about that.
Yeah. So when I started in the business, I was working with my dad, and that was in, like I said, 2016. And I knew I had the desire to grow a team. And at that point, my dad had already been in the business for over 30 years. So
Mhm,
we kind of were on different paths. He was
mhm.
kind of slowing down and I was speeding up. So as you mentioned, I did end up going to another brokerage. And that's where I grew my team. And then decided that where I was in business a year ago, I've been back at Remax for a year, it was better fit for me to go back to Remax and continue to build my team from there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I thought, you left, you came back.
Yeah.
What did you find some of the differences were out there where you say, oh my gosh, I'm really missing this in my business, and I didn't really realize that it was missing.
Yeah. One of the biggest things is I would go on appointments, meet with buyers and sellers, and they would say, "What company do you work with?" And I would say,
Mm,
"Berkshire Hathaway."
mm.
And a lot of people, I would get a response, "Oh, I've never heard of that before."
Ah,
Whereas when you say Remax, everyone's heard of Remax. Everyone knows the Remax balloon. So brand recognition was an issue that, it just wasn't as recognized of a brand.
right. Got it. And then what about, and not specific to comparing, one brand to another particularly, but, we've talked a lot about in this show, lots of our tools and things that we give our agents to help them be more productive, more professional. What are you leveraging that's really helping you?
Yeah. So I would say I'm being new back to Remax in the last year. I haven't had a chance to really jump into a lot of the new technology, so I'm
Hmm.
still kind of exploring all of
Hmm.
that. But some of the marketing that's out there that automatically generates for your listings, that's huge. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel and put in all the extra work. It's already automated for you, so you don't have to
Hmm.
put in that extra time. So
I think that's huge because I really do look at it and say, it's like a personal marketing assistant that's right there in a
yeah,
box for you.
absolutely.
So let's switch gears just a little bit. Here's another question for you. The market out there is shifting a little bit.
Mhm.
And, I keep saying it, we've had 125 months of consecutive run up, and we've got
Yeah.
a huge population of agents in the business as a whole who really have
Mhm.
never seen a shift like this. And so, what would your advice to agents out there who are like, gosh, I'm finding myself a little lost? What's your advice to them?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, before we were all just looking on the hot sheet for new listings and they were gone within a couple, days
Hmm.
of them being listed. So I think in this shifting market, agents need to be aware. There's a lot of fear out there with
Yeah.
consumers. They're scared about rising interest rates
Hmm.
and just the state of the economy. So I think it's really knowing your numbers and studying what's going on in the data on your local MLS
Hmm.
and being able to explain that to clients so they don't have that fear. Homes are still selling. The days on market's just going up a little bit more. And
Hmm.
there's other creative options for buyers for financing to keep those interest rates a little bit
Correct.
lower. So it's just finding those solutions and just
Hmm.
showing the data to our clients so they understand it. There's not fear there.
Well, and you become the source because it's easy to watch a newscast that is, talking about kind of sensationalized stories that may not be really relevant to your market. And the other thing
Right.
too is that, the moment they hear, the Feds rose, did a rate hike, they automatically think, oh my gosh, the interest rate's going to go up,
Right.
0.75%. It's tied to the T-bill. So it doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily translate that way. So
Right.
being able to get out there and, use tools like Megaphone and, a lot of the social media stuff that we have in order to
Mhm.
be that voice in your market is really smart. So I'm glad to hear you say that,
Absolutely.
Mary Catherine.
Yeah.
Um, so, you know, how you talked a little bit about the network.
Mhm.
And so how have you found the network has impacted your business?
Yeah. So, I mean, my business is a lot of past clients and referral based. So,
Hmm.
being able to network with agents within Remax, if I have a client moving out of state, that's huge to be able to refer them to a Remax agent that I know, is a solid, good agent in our
Hmm.
network. So, that's a huge thing. And then also having those referrals sent to you as well. So,
Hmm.
the Remax network is just so large, and then being international, we can swap referrals with agents throughout the network.
You bring up a good point. I remember this was decades ago. I'm aging myself, or dating myself, I should say. The, they made the announcement we were going into Ireland, and I thought, why should I care, right? My brokerage was in Reno, Nevada. I am not kidding. 2 weeks later, a referral came in, and I got a referral from an agent in Ireland, and closed that
Yeah,
transaction. And so,
yeah.
it's so interesting. Our network, because it's global,
Mhm.
regional, then national, and local. It's just such a powerhouse, and I think that also is underestimated. I remember one year, and this is a true story, factually documented. I made $90,000 just from closed referral fees that either were incoming or
Absolutely.
outgoing. So I
Yeah,
love hearing you bring up that point because it's not something that we necessarily talk about all the time.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so, what's next for you? What's on your horizon for this upcoming year, and how are you going to navigate the change in the market and leverage it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, I have a team currently. A lot of my team is admin based. I have an assistant
Okay,
and a couple of virtual assistants. So
great.
continuing to grow that. I have one agent on my team currently. So, it's a good time when things are shifting just to stay on top of it. And,
Mhm.
I eventually want to continue to expand my team.
Oh, that's great. Good. And so, do you have any last words of advice for agents out there who are sitting here going, I'm just trying to make the best business decision I can?
Yeah.
Anything that they need to know?
Yeah. So my biggest pieces of advice is to treat this like a business. I mean, you
Mhm.
should start this in quarter 4, create a business plan for the next year, so you know exactly where that business is going to come from and what lead pillars you're going to work on, and then knowing and tracking your numbers and tracking
Mhm.
how many phone calls you're making, how many conversations you're having, and how many appointments you're going on, because that leads to more business.
Well, and two things you said there. First is making sure you know where you're going. What are your goals? Where are we going, particularly as a team? But for those who don't have a team, as an individual, what am I
Mhm.
trying to achieve? And then
Yeah.
second is, am I on track? Tracking that accountability, because I think in our business, we don't have any accountability unless we hold ourselves accountable. And I
Right.
think that's another big driving force that agents, need to recognize. Well, Mary Catherine, I really thank you so much for your time today. You've helped countless agents and, others really see what the benefits are, and we appreciate you taking the time. Thank you for being a big, bright, shining light in our network. We really appreciate you, and it was great to spend the time with you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mary Catherine. All right, see you soon. And thank you. We really appreciate you taking the time to explore REMAX today. I really do want to encourage you to ask more questions, reach out to a local broker in your market, and think about what we've shared today. So, you're also welcome to attend another Build Your Business session. We hold these regularly. And then for another resource, I encourage you to visit joinremax.com. And overall, just consider what it is that we might be able to do for you when it comes to supporting your big business goals. So thanks so much. We look forward to hearing from you, and have a great day.